think that's a two-part answer. I think firstly, it's so important to acknowledge our culture. I mean, I grew up, I got, sorry mom, dad, I was hit by both of you. So I absolutely grew up with that culture like many of us, right? And that served a function.
Right.
And specifically the function of compliance. Because by hitting, that helped me to help kids to comply faster. What we are learning from the research is that it also creates a culture of fear.
Right.
Specifically, I listen now, but when bigger things happen down the line, as I grow up, I might choose to not share it anymore.
Doctor, do you know actually why it's called Singapore, not Tempura?
I do not actually.
Because you know, if let's say, you know, Sangna Utama, the first man in Singapore, so-called the first man in Singapore, right? Why he called Singapore, Singapore? Why was it called Singapura?
Sure, I imagine it's due to the lion that he's seeing.
Yeah, but I mean, if he saw a prawn instead of a lion, what would he have
called it? Tempura.
Exactly, that's why we had the name SNT, Singapore, not Tempura. Who's that? Oh, it's you guys! Hey everyone, welcome and join us on this journey of Singapura, not Tempura, where we are your best companion, all things Singapura and beyond.
Deep dive with us into the heart of the Lion City, exploring the vibrant culture with a dash of Singaporean spice.
How about good or not?
Share and subscribe!
See you on the airwaves! Hey everybody, welcome back into a whole new episode of Singapore, not Tempura. Today it is Singapura and not all about Trumpy. And we are back here in another episode, and today we have with us Dr. OML. Doctor!
Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you, Doctor. Give me a handshake.
Glad to be here.
That's right. Doctor, what does OML stand for?
It stands for my name, really.
Oh, your name?
Ong Mian Lee.
Ong Mian Lee.
So that's my name, yeah.
How young are you, Doctor?
Sorry, how young?
Yeah.
Well, I'm 38 this year. Yeah, 38 this year. Yeah.
You're so young. Are you single or married?
I'm married. I wonder why you're asking this question, but sure, we can do that.
In case someone is single and they love you, we never know. In case you're fans.
Taken, even though I don't have a ring, but yes, taken.
Faithful.
Faithful, yes. Absolutely.
So, Doctor, right. Are you a Singaporean?
I am a Singaporean.
What's your favorite Singaporean food?
Chicken rice.
Chicken rice?
Especially
really?
The one at Tian Tian. Yeah.
Tian Tian?
So,
Lucky Plaza?
No, Maxwell.
Oh, Maxwell. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't... Okay, that was not bad,
Yeah.
not bad. I shouldn't say anything negative here on camera.
Yeah.
I mean, you like Tian Tian chicken rice? Go for it. You should love your chicken rice. I mean, I love char kway teow.
I love that you love
nasi
char kway
lemak.
teow.
Yeah. You like nasi lemak?
Well, it's one of my top food, but not the top, I guess.
the
Depends
top,
on the
right,
chili
cool.
and everything.
Okay, so doctor recommends eating chicken rice. Doctor say on her, eat more chicken rice and you will rise up. Okay, so doctor, so you are a psychologist.
Right.
Is it a psychiatrist or psychologist? Is it the same or what?
Right. So great question. So I'm a clinical psychologist, and the difference between
psychologist.
Right.
Okay, right.
And the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist.
Okay.
I would say that the purpose is the same
Okay.
to sort of manage behavior and to work on mental health.
Okay.
But the tools used are slightly different. So
Right.
psychiatrists primarily use medication, whereas psychologists primarily use talk therapies to sort of put it
Talk
quite
therapy?
broadly.
Wow.
Psycho-
But is a psychologist also a doctor?
It's a great question. So it differs across the world. So if you have a PhD in clinical psychology, then yes, you call yourself a doctor. But in Singapore, bachelor's level and master's, they do practice as well. So that's a
Right.
whole other
So
kind of words.
how do you
I
get
guess.
your doctor? Because I remember when I was in visiting a psychologist, they couldn't give me an MC because they're not a psychiatrist. That was back some years ago. And then I know that, so they're not doctors. So why can't you be called a doctor? Like Dr. OML?
Right. So my title is that of a doctor, but there are obviously, depending on which country you're
Right.
in, right? There are differences between a medical doctor and then sort of a PhD, which is a doctor of philosophy. So a
Right.
different kind in
So
that
you
sense.
have a PhD?
I do.
Wow. Which school do you graduate from?
So it was in the States. So the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Okay,
So that's somewhere in the south, right?
Definitely. I totally know where is Triple Hill.
So Chapel
Chapel
Hill.
Hill. I totally know where is Chapel Hill. I know now where's Bukit Timah Hill, and I believe it's somewhere nearby Bukit Timah itself. So not too far away. It's definitely in Singapore. You want to get a PhD? Get it right here in the Plastics 5. So, Doctor, today, so you're a PhD holder, right?
Right.
I don't
In
even
the
have
US.
a-
Yep.
I don't even have a master's degree, so. But you're a PhD holder in the US.
Yes.
So, have you met my friend?
Yeah.
My friend is very famous in the US.
Oh.
You know his name?
Pray tell, yeah.
Yeah, my friend's got Donald Trump.
I think I've heard of him, yeah.
You heard of him?
His name sounds familiar, yes.
I used to eat with him in Singapore. We ate chicken rice together.
Really?
Yes.
What
I
a coincidence that
So
I like chicken
amazing.
rice and you have had chicken rice with him.
I ate with him chicken rice, I ate with him satay, I ate with
sure
him
you
like a
did.
char kway teow, I ate with him a lot of stuff. But today, actually my friend called me up, Mr. Trump called me up and he wanted to discuss with you some questions that you have.
From President Trump himself?
Of course. His name is called
yeah.
Mr. Trumpet. So I want to ask some questions, and today we're gonna dive into some things regarding Trump. So I believe on the news, you have heard about my friend, Mr. Donald Trump, about him and his tariffs, about him and his all other things going on with Donald Trump. I mean, it's all over the news now, right? He's quite famous. He's making hits by himself. Such a talented friend I have. I mean, like me, we're all talented as well. And so I want to talk about his personality, right? Like, what do you think is Trump's personality? What do you think is in his mind?
Could I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So with that, what are you asking me to sort of evaluate him or?
Yes, like really, like kind of like to help us understand, like what is his actually idea type? Is he what we call a genuine strategist? Is he a textbook narcissist, or is he a master manipulator, or is he just the kind of guy who makes you blur things out and make things go blur out? I don't know.
Tempting. I think it's much more important for us, I think, to understand the function of his behavior, and why is he sort of behaving in these ways. And I think that going in that direction likely will be far more useful. So I would hesitate as a psychologist without having laid eyes on him, or just viewing his behavior online to quote unquote diagnose him or call him certain names. I think that's what I would say.
What is his character? From your point of view, when you see, when you have read, what is his character they're trying to portray? That he's dominant, that he is hardworking, what sort of?
And I think from sort of what the type of behavior that he has displayed on video, again, and video can be imperfect in its own way, right? I think it's not too far of a stretch to say that he does display sort of dominant traits, assertive type behavior.
Right.
And I think what I would say to that is that different times call for different types of leaders, and therefore his style has clearly resonated with many in America, up to the point that he actually sort of got elected as well. And hence, I think it's beyond my purview to speculate.
It's all in your purview. In this space, everything is in your purview now.
Thank you for that.
Gas it all in.
Thank you for giving me that space. Again, very tempting for us to want to sort of label him, but I think it will help us a lot more to understand sort of what are the reasons behind him behaving this way. What function does it serve to achieve, and how does the systems in which we live in now help almost perpetuate and give rise and incentivize this behavior of his.
I mean, some people call him, they say that he's a narcissist, and he said that he has a need for admiration. Would you agree to that?
Need for admiration. So just to clarify, what makes you say that sort of, he has a need for admiration?
It's not my comment, but it's people's comments. They think that he needs some admiration for himself. I mean, men, we do have ego sometimes, and people do have ego. And I guess, some alphas, are you an alpha?
I wouldn't call myself that, and I'm not sure how I would define that, but yeah.
I'm an alpha. I'm
Sure.
up for sure. As someone that I'm a dominant person, I can lead the game and I can always want
Sure.
to win the game. So in a way, some of us who are alphas, we do tend to have a need for admiration. Would you agree to that?
I think you asked you make a really strong point, and I want to lean in on your profession,
Right.
Master, as you do surgical work as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think in your line of work,
Right.
it's valued and it pays off really
Right.
to be assertive, to
Right.
give clear directions. This is what it is.
Right.
This is the clear plan
Right.
in which to sort of move forward in.
Right.
And you speak of alpha traits,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think these assertiveness certainly plays a very big role, particularly now
Right.
when times are uncertain.
Uncertain.
Absolutely. So that brand of leadership, I think, then resonates in a very different way.
Wow.
Contrast that with, say, President Obama,
Oh,
whereby
okay.
he's equally charismatic, I would say, and his leadership style sort of invites reflection.
Right.
Invites us to reflect on our better angels. How do we do better?
Right.
And that type of leadership, while equally charismatic,
Yeah.
in uncertain and difficult times, may not quite resonate as well.
Right. That's how you explain it.
And therefore,
Okay.
that alpha syndrome
Okay.
that we speak of,
Yeah.
I think, can play such a huge role when it
Right.
comes
Right.
to times of uncertainty. So, can we say it's
Right.
good or bad? Can we say that this is ego, or
right.
a way to really help move people along?
Right.
And I think that's what's so curious, I think.
Right.
And I think us understanding sort of why he's leading this way,
Right.
intentionally or not,
Right.
I think then that helps us to then get into his head a bit more, perhaps, and his leadership style.
Right. Means I must text him more often because I haven't texted him like since
Sure.
last week. He hasn't replied me again.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm very busy in America now.
seems like a very busy
Very
person.
busy
yes.
man, a very busy man. But would you agree that actually like he has what they call a narcissistic personality disorder? NPO.
Right. And I hesitate. I think any psychologist would hesitate to sort of label and diagnose someone without having laid eyes, and from sort of media that can be biased in their
Right.
own ways.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think the short answer to that is no, I would not just diagnose him based on that.
Right. But what do you think is a narcissistic personality disorder?
What do I...
Is it a real thing? Narcissistic personality disorder. Like what is that? I mean,
Well-
you have the PhD.
well-
I do have the PhD. So
Sure. Thank you for being curious as well. And you are very expert in your own
yeah.
area. So, well, narcissistic personality disorder certainly exists.
Right,
And it is in the DSM,
Right.
which is the manual we use to diagnose. Right?
DSM.
Much like how medical professionals use the ICD-10, is
Right.
it 11 now, right?
Right,
In psychology, we use the DSM.
Right,
And it's
DSM,
for
okay.
psychiatry as well.
Okay,
So
cool.
the trait absolutely exists. There certainly is a disorder,
Right.
and it's sort of characterized by like a intense, almost pathological focus on the self, and that often is how that behavior sort of plays itself out. It often comes from unmet needs, emotional dysregulation. There are many reasons that lead up to this MPD, I think, that you speak of.
Yeah.
But I would absolutely hesitate to diagnose President Trump. Again, precisely because of the... Sorry, go ahead.
What are symptoms of like NPD?
Like, exactly sort of what I've shared, sort of that grandiosity.
How do you show it? Like, for example,
Right.
if I were to post more photos on Instagram, looking for validation, or let's say I will always be very calculative with my money. Is that what we should call that as this NPD?
The short answer is no. I think all humans, I think we all have a need to be validated. We want to
Right.
be seen. We
Yeah,
want to be
yeah.
understood.
So what's the unhealthy range?
The short answer to that, I think, is when it starts to affect one's well-being.
Right,
Can we then say it is pathological? But at the same time, I think it's hard to describe President Trump's behavior as grandiose just from what we are seeing online.
Right. I see.
And that it may be, again, circling back to the main point, a function of the times, of the leadership, of how media
Makes sense.
operates as well.
I agree with you. I totally agree with
Right.
you. Yeah. But you know, one thing is that you mentioned about unmet needs, right?
Unmet
that could
needs,
possibly
okay.
lead to or like affect this disorder happening in someone, right? Unmet needs.
Oh, okay.
What kind of unmet needs that you actually like talking about?
And this spans, I think, not just disordered
Okay.
behavior, but I think all humans, that our childhood experiences absolutely, I think, influence the way we behave, think,
Really?
and feel.
So those child moments, although you don't think much about it when you grow up, but those have formed a base in your life,
They could.
like a mental base.
A mental base to an extent, yes. And I think there is a term for this. It's called adverse childhood experiences, or
Right.
ACEs.
Right.
In which that if there are a certain number of difficult experiences,
Yeah.
for instance,
Yeah.
not being able to have access to books,
Yeah.
growing up in poverty,
Right.
if you grew up in an unsafe, physically unsafe environment, you were the witness of violence.
Right.
I think those can absolutely, I think, shape the
Right,
way you view.
Right, doctor. So you did mention about unmet needs and childhood effect into someone's growing up and what they do when they grow up, right? So in a way, what we know about Trump is that he grew up in Queens, New York, and he had a strict father who was called Fred Trump, and he was a real estate mogul who actually emphasized a lot about winning, about strength, about principle-led life, whereby losing is not an option, and you should live your life not by emotions but by principles. For example, like if you gotta do this, then you must do it. But if they say you are fat, you gotta lose weight, don't tell me you're lazy to go to the gym, you don't feel like going to the gym, but you gotta do it, you must do it. Right? So you must do something because it is right.
Right.
So do you think like such a mindset from his upbringing itself when he was a childhood affect his current actions and kind of like produce his current actions that he's doing to the world and to America?
Thanks for the question. I think many people absolutely are curious about this. I would say that while childhood experiences and the way we grew up, sort of beliefs, if you will, those can absolutely, I think, shape the way we behave and the way we think and feel. But as for the extent to which that is the case, I think President Trump can answer that the best and not us, I think. But it
Cool.
absolutely plays a role, and that's what I would say to that.
Right, I see. Right, fantastic. And actually, to be honest, Doctor, wanna ask some of you who were curious to know, like how much of our personality, to be honest, is shaped by our upbringing, or could it be our simply innate virtue, our innate character? From your point of view, for any general person, let's say me, like my current personality, how much is it shaped by my upbringing and my innate personal value I was born with?
Thanks for the very thoughtful question. What I would say, this sounds like the nature versus nurture debate here.
Right.
More specifically, are you born with a certain set of traits, or did it develop over time? Right. Well, the jury is out on that as to the sort of extent. And I think it really depends on what we are talking about here. But in the area of personality, I think we are all certainly born with a innate temperament and personality type.
Right.
And we see this with kids, for instance, where some kids are just more fussy, they are just harder to calm down, and some are just more easier to soothe, right? But that temperament can absolutely be shaped over time. And that's where the nurture part comes in. And that's where sort of having stable, consistent, and loving parents can play a huge role, as well as I think the environment that we are in. So I think, as I alluded to, did you have access to books? Was your environment safe? Were you affluent? How were your sort of friends like around you? Things like that.
Right.
That's what I would say.
Do you have kids, sir?
I do not. I
You
do
don't have
not.
kids yet?
I do not yet, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. You want to have kids?
I would love to, but it takes two to
I think
tango.
my
guess.
question sounds wrong, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, kids are amazing, right?
They are, of course.
Yeah.
I'm a clinical child psychologist. So
Oh,
I have to
really?
believe that they are.
Yes. Wow. Do you ever like smack kids, something like that? Like teach them a lesson? No.
No.
Just talk to them.
Right. And by that, I assume you are asking like, oh, is it a good thing to
Yeah.
hit your
To
kids?
beat them a little bit. You know.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I think that's a two-part answer. I think I think firstly, it's so important to acknowledge our culture. I mean, I grew up, I got, sorry mom, dad, I was hit by both of you. So I absolutely grew up with that culture like many of us, right?
Yeah.
And that served a function.
Right.
And specifically the function of compliance. Because by hitting, that helped me to help kids to comply faster. What we are learning from the research is that it also creates a culture of fear.
Right.
Specifically, I listen now, but when bigger things happen down the line, as I grow up, I might choose to not share it anymore, right? Versus, I think, educating through praise, encouragement, and consequence. I think we have found through both the research as well as from actual clinical work that I've done and lots of my colleagues have done, that way is the much better way to go. But at the same time, I think it's important to do it in a way that respects our culture and respects where we come from as well. That's what I would say.
Okay. There's always a way to teach kids in a nicer way.
Specifically, we should do our very best not to hit our kids. There is a function to that, but it's much better to educate via encouragement and praise.
How about
consequences.
adults? If they're naughty, like do we beat adults too? Should we like beat people in a way? Like, does it help to beat people up?
I'm curious, what makes you do you have like experiences that sort of help you to learn that
in the law itself, we do have beatings, right?
in Singapore?
In Singapore, yeah. So should it help people comply from your point of view, psychologically speaking?
Right. Okay, I think it's far beyond my purview to sort of make calls on what the law should and should not be. I think at the same time, because there is a function for using corporal punishment.
Right.
And again, that produces compliance as an outcome. Like, don't do it again, right?
Yeah.
What the science, I think, and research is telling us is that encouragement, reformative experiences, and I think we are seeing that in prisons all over the world as well. Finding ways to sort of find work, do things that are productive is more helpful.
I see. Right. That is so cool. Right, so back to my friend again, right? Mr. Donald Trump.
Sure.
Right, but we talk about like this upbringing, about his mental state and so on and so forth. Is he trying to gain power and control to lead the world? What do you think is his goal? Like from what you know about him, from how you see his actions, try to break it down a little bit, what do you think is his ultimate goal and purpose?
I cannot speculate. I'm not in his mind, so I think I can't sort of speak to that. But what I can speak to, I guess, is all leaders and politicians. I think they do have to gain political clout. They do They do need that clout and ways, I guess, to convince people as to what they are trying to do.
To follow the authority, right?
Right. So I would say that what President Trump is doing here, without judging and trying to judge what he's trying to do, I think there is a function to what he's trying to do.
Right.
Again, in this era, this time that we are in, where tariffs are everywhere, right? We are moving towards tariffs.
Oh, tariffs, okay.
Right, and us moving towards a multipolar world.
Yeah.
I think the politics of assertiveness, of being direct, of saying, follow me, this is the way to do it, I think holds a lot more sway. That's what I would say.
Wow, I feel like he's a professor in SMU, Singapore Management University.
What makes you say so?
Yeah, you speak like one of them.
Hopefully in a good way and not in a roundabout.
Good way.
Yeah, okay.
Good way, but in a way, you just remind me of me being in class in SMU because it's very similar to what I would say in class.
Hopefully in a good way, because I aim to like speak
You should be a professor in SMU.
You.
Yeah,
maybe SMU, maybe
Singapore Management University.
Call me up, hit me up.
Remember Dr. OML, the teaching class, or one of faculty, I believe he can do it and he will teach you a big lesson about beating you as well.
That's not true, but thank you, Master Joshua.
Honestly speaking, right, so in a way, leadership requires that there must be some sort of intimidation, to be honest, right? Would you agree with that? Is Trump's form of intimidation, is it effective? Like would you say that is required?
Well, when you say intimidation, I assume you are referring to sort of the rhetoric he has been using towards the other countries in the world, right?
Yes.
And again, in such times, given his political and economic objectives, whatever they may be, the politics of intimidation and sort of being more of a strong arming approach, I think definitely has its psychological roots. In that when we give people binary options, I think that certainly has the effect of making people feel, or in this case, countries feel like they are being threatened. So there is a place for that. As to whether it's right or wrong, I certainly think that in this era, it has been quite effective in that it has shaken up the world. As for whether it's effective in the long run, I think we are seeing that play out in real time. And obviously, people have and countries have responded quite differently.
So, but do you think Trump is getting more trust from the world or less trust?
What do you mean by that?
Like, do you think the world is supporting him more, trusting him more, believing in him more, or it's just going downhill?
I think that's really hard for me to say and hard for me to judge.
Right, I see.
This is all playing out in real time.
Yeah.
And I of course understand sort of where you are coming from here. Like, what is he really trying to do here? I think at the same time, I think it's far more valuable to us to understand sort of instead of asking, what is President Trump trying to do? I think it's far more valuable for us to ask, what is this behavior meant to achieve? And when we understand a bit more what this behavior is meant to achieve in this climate that we are in, then that I think gives us data as individuals, as societies, to then know how to respond. That's what I would say. Yeah.
This man right beside me is a professor in SMU. I guarantee you.
Again, I don't know if that's a good thing, but I will accept it as a compliment.
I've graduated.
You have graduated. Congrats.
I don't think I'm going to school ever again. I'm not going to do a PhD.
Sorry?
Did you do NS?
I did do NS, right? So I'm a Singaporean, so I did NS. I was a company medic. Company medic.
Corporal or?
Third sergeant, so I had to sort of chiong sua is what I would say. I had to sort of walk.
Nice.
Then I finished and I did my bachelor's and
okay.
Things like that.
Right.
But it's a story for another day.
All the way to PhD, I don't know how you do it, but amazing.
Thank
all right. So, Dr. OML, do you think you would actually support if Trump, my dear friend Trump, would come and lead Singapore instead and like be Singapore's prime minister maybe, or its own Singapore? Would you vote for that? Would you agree with that? Would you want that as a Singaporean?
So I think outside of myself as an individual, and I think it's outside of my scope as a psychologist to then talk as a quote-unquote Singaporean.
Right.
But I would say that different types of political styles, I think, work differently in different countries.
Right.
In a country like Singapore, I do wonder if President Trump and his style, I think it's up to Singaporeans to judge whether that style will actually work really well. But I think it's beyond my scope as a psychologist to comment on whether his style would work well for Singaporeans.
Right. I mean, Singapore has our own system, right? Of our politics, of our parliamentary, whatever we call it.
Sure.
But do you think that Singapore system will actually bow and follow Trump's way of aggressive leadership, or would Trump's leadership actually kind of follow Singapore's system?
I think the short answer is it's hard for me to comment on how his behavior is likely going to translate into poor, because
Right,
that would
right.
require me then evaluating Singapore's political landscape, which I think is out of my scope. And I hope this doesn't come across as I'm trying to dodge it, but I think this goes
He's
beyond
dodgy.
Maybe I am. Oops.
Dodgy guy, right? Right, cool. Okay, handshake.
Sure, but
Handshake, yes,
just that
handshake,
as a psychologist, I think it's important for me not to speak out of my expertise.
Sure.
I think, Joshua, you do speak to a larger point here in that we can like someone and disagree with somebody's politics, and I think that's completely fine.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes psychology so valuable
Right.
right now, in that, wait, what's going on here? What is his behavior meant to, I think, telegraph?
Right.
That's
yeah,
what I would say.
yeah, right. I'm still trying to understand the mind of some ladies that I'm close with. I'm not sure if I would want to check on Trump again, but definitely is something that people have been asking us on our channel. And
About how Trump is, Trump's mindset.
Exactly, that's right. And they would love to hear from you, and they would actually love to have you as their president as well. Dr. OML.
Sure, sure.
Country.
Sure, maybe I should sign up to be a political consultant or something.
Right.
That's hilarious. You're so funny.
So, Dr. OML, talk a lot about chicken rice, talk about char kway teow, talk about Singapore food, talk about biggest Singapore, talk about Mr. Donald Trump. Whew, there's got to be a lot of information. My mind's a bit messy when I talk about him because although he's my good friend, but I don't really get his politics game. Although we can all be political, but his game is a little bit different from what we do here in Singapore and what we do here on a micro basis, right? So, Dr. OML, for our dear viewers out there, right, what would be a nice summary to wrap up our whole discussion today, this evening?
I would say that in this uncertain time, it is so tempting to label and to make it us versus them type of game. And I know that social media and things like that don't make it easy. So I would encourage the viewers, right, to lead with sort of the mindset of curiosity and understanding why President Trump in this case has behaved and is behaving the way he is. And I think that then gives us a lot more compassion and a lot more insight into what he might be doing. And that's what I would say.
Right, so in a simple statement or a simple short paragraph, what do you think is going on in Trump's head, in his mind?
I think he has a very assertive brand of leadership that he's likely employing as a reaction to such uncertain times, as it is, from a psychological perspective, very effective in swaying people.
Right.
Whether that's right or wrong, effective or not, I think I will leave it to the viewers to judge. I think that's where politics and democracy work, right? Then we are free to engage
Democracy.
with his leadership style.
Talk about democracy. We can talk about democracy next time, right?
We could.
Yes. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I'm going to join Professor now on because he's like one.
Yeah.
So, do you want to work in SMU one day, maybe?
Maybe the door's open. We can always chat. Yeah.
Okay.
But again, thanks so much again for your time. I think this has been so helpful, and thanks for keeping this live as well. I really appreciate it.
It's a great time to be with you. Speaking of you, it feels like just speaking with a friend.
Thank you.
Like when I spoke to Donald Trump, it feels like this. It's very chill.
Sure.
Very nice.
I will believe that you have spoken to him.
Definitely. I can guarantee you, if you like him, you don't like him, he's here to stay. And I believe his brand of leadership has its own pros and cons, like everything else in this world. Nothing is perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But let's learn to live, deal, embrace, enjoy, and work our way around reality, and always give our best and do what's right, even when we don't feel like doing what's right. And I believe from there, that's when we can keep moving forward in the right direction. Alright, Professor?
Yeah, thanks for sort of summarizing that so well, and I think taking the perspective of curiosity will really help.
Right.
Right.
Alright, so stay curious. Always stay tuned. Never go anywhere. Always stay on Singapura, not Tempura. My name is Joshua David Samshriri, and this is Dr.
Ong Mian Lee. Thank you so much for your time.
Sorry?
Dr. Ong Mian Lee,
Oh, I thought it was
clinical
Ong Mian
psychologist.
Lee. Right. That's all we have for you today. Don't forget to
Like, share, and subscribe.
Oh, he's a good one. He is Dr. Ong Mian Lee.
And this is Master Joshua.
That's right. And everybody, we'll see you again next episode of
Singapura, not
Tempura.
Tempura.
Ciao.